When it comes to Drake, this week in hip-hop has already become one of the craziest stretches we've seen in years. Lawsuits are collapsing, Tupac's name is somehow being dragged into court again, people are allegedly getting paid to artificially hype an album nobody genuinely seems excited for, and somehow the Iceman rollout keeps getting louder while the real excitement keeps disappearing, and now we finally understand why. What's reportedly happening behind the scenes is honestly worse than most people expected. Before we get into it, leave a like, subscribe, and support the channel, because the deeper this Iceman situation gets, the more aggressive Drake's remaining fanbase becomes anytime somebody points out what's actually happening. Apparently telling the truth is enough to make people furious now. But today, 3 separate revelations are about to surface that could seriously damage Drake's image in a way we haven't seen before.
In all 3 situations, the lawsuit itself, the efforts to cover up the lawsuit, and the desperate attempts to keep the rollout alive, all revolve around the same theme: manufactured narratives. Nearly everything surrounding Drake right now feels artificial. People are allegedly being paid to push positive talking points about Iceman online. The budgets being thrown around apparently keep getting bigger because the desperation level has reached that point. And honestly, that's only the beginning of how embarrassing this entire situation is becoming. At this point, it almost feels like Drake's entire public image is being scripted for him behind the scenes. Everything about this rollout feels staged. Everything feels fake. And if you think that sounds exaggerated, just wait until we get deeper into what reportedly leaked from inside the OVO community. Because what recently surfaced is so perfectly on brand for this era of Drake that it almost feels unbelievable. Throughout this entire week, people like academics, OVO Mall, and every major Iceman supporter have been pushing harder than ever trying to convince the internet something huge is coming. Whether it's Mall hyping up Drake's bars, or academics posting mysterious messages before going back to livestream chaos, all of them are trying to create the feeling that some massive cultural moment is approaching. But honestly, who's actually excited anymore? And more importantly, who's supposedly funding this entire Iceman rollout now? Because the answer might genuinely be the saddest part of all this. We're about to get into how badly the lawsuit situation has deteriorated and why Drake may have permanently damaged his relationship with UMG. But first, something I've been predicting for a long time now appears to be true. UMG reportedly seems completely done with him. After spending over 15 years helping build Drake into the giant star he became, he eventually turned around and publicly went to war with them. And now, it looks like they finally had enough.
The clearest sign that UMG has allegedly stepped away from Drake, leaving him to handle Iceman largely on his own after resources reportedly got drained by the lawsuit, comes from a leaked marketing brief tied to the rollout. The document supposedly reveals exactly who's being paid to spread positive Iceman content online. And honestly, once you see who's apparently helping bankroll this rollout now that UMG has pulled back, the entire thing becomes unbelievably embarrassing. Because according to the leak, the major names connected to financing and amplifying Iceman are Kick and Stake. That's apparently who's helping support this rollout now. Academics, Aiden Ross, gambling sponsorships, non-stop Drake live streams, all of it somehow circles back to the same ecosystem. Pages connected to the rollout are allegedly admitting they participated in organized promotional campaigns while pretending it's completely normal. And naturally, the information reportedly surfaced from a private OVO Discord server, because of course it did.
What makes this even worse is that academics' own content is apparently being treated almost like a blueprint for how people should promote Iceman online. People are allegedly receiving money to flood social media with positive narratives surrounding the album. The campaign itself reportedly expired back on April 15th. But honestly, the existence of it alone says everything. If you've noticed the Iceman conversation getting louder while genuine excitement keeps shrinking, that's not an accident. That's manufactured hype. And honestly, the fact this operation even supposedly exists already says everything about Drake's current position. If he's still supposedly the biggest rapper alive, why does he allegedly need an inorganic, money-driven campaign just to create hype in 2026? Either Drake's team knows his real influence is fading, or they genuinely believe the industry is conspiring against him, and this is some kind of counterattack. Either way, it looks pathetic. This is some of the most shameless behavior mainstream hip-hop has seen in years.
Hip-hop used to reward authenticity. The biggest artists used to let the music speak for itself. Kendrick Lamar dropped GNX with almost no forced marketing campaign and still delivered one of the most successful rap albums of the modern era commercially. But because Drake apparently isn't operating from that same creative place anymore, this is what the Rollout has become instead. Paid promotion, gambling company partnerships, and academics dancing around online trying to manufacture excitement into existence. And honestly, for somebody who still calls himself the king of rap, this level of manipulation is embarrassing. Drake pushing this hard, building organized campaigns, publicly turning against UMG, relying on these kinds of backers, has made Iceman feel less like an album rollout and more like some giant psychological operation designed to convince people Drake is still untouchable. At this point, it barely even feels like music marketing anymore. It feels like an illusion, a fake cultural moment built entirely around forced narratives and artificial hype. The more academics talks and the more Drake posts mysterious ice photos without actual music attached, the clearer it becomes that Iceman might not even exist as a fully realized project yet.
And now we need to talk about the lawsuit, because Drake somehow managed to hit an entirely new low in his latest legal response. Buried inside the usual victim narrative and endless complaining was one of the most disrespectful moves Drake has made during this entire situation. And somehow, Tupac Shakur's estate got dragged into it. Which honestly feels especially ironic, considering it's now been around 2 years since the tailor-made freestyle situation happened. Here's what Drake is reportedly arguing now. Because Tupac's estate forced him to remove tailor-made freestyle before Not Like Us officially dropped, Drake is now claiming audiences never got a fair opportunity to hear his side of the beef properly. And because of that, he's apparently trying to argue Kendrick's record should somehow carry defamation liability due to missing context. Drake is literally attempting to use Tupac's estate removing the song as part of his legal strategy now.
There's also reportedly a growing narrative among Drake's supporters claiming Kendrick secretly pressured Tupac's estate into sending the cease and desist in the first place. The estate itself already denied that ever happened, but Drake fans continue repeating it anyway, because at this point they'll apparently believe almost anything. And now Drake is essentially sitting in court trying to shift blame toward Tupac's estate for the collapse of his own public image, after he already used Tupac's likeness without permission to begin with. Every time it feels like Drake has officially reached rock bottom, somehow another level appears underneath it. Using a deceased hip-hop legend who can't defend himself is part of your legal argument, especially after already disrespecting his image by using it without consent, is honestly one of the ugliest things we've seen in hip-hop in years. In a culture that has respected Tupac for decades, this goes beyond bad optics. It genuinely makes Drake look like somebody who has no real respect for the culture itself.
And honestly, Drake's entire victim narrative has now reached its absolute peak. The propaganda campaigns, the manufactured Iceman hype, and now trying to redirect blame toward Tupac's estate. It all follows the same formula. Expand the victim story, blame everybody else, avoid accountability, and hope nobody notices there's barely any actual music attached to any of this. But time is running out quickly now. This lawsuit is entering its final stages. Unless the courts drag things out further, Drake is rapidly running out of options, and his latest response, filled with the same victim framing, selective quotes, and endless complaints, probably isn't going to save him. The only thing that's really changed is how far Drake now seems willing to go to avoid taking responsibility for anything.
And honestly, there's something almost poetic about the way Tupac's legacy keeps resurfacing during Drake's downfall. Every single time Drake touches Tupac's name or drags him into controversy, things somehow get worse for Drake afterward. And using Tupac as a legal shield after already exploiting his image without permission honestly feels like something only a person with zero genuine love for hip-hop culture would even attempt. Which ironically is exactly what Kendrick accused Drake of on Not Like Us. And every move Drake makes keeps reinforcing that criticism. So Drake, keep playing with Tupac's legacy if you want, because every time you do, things somehow become worse for you publicly. UMG reportedly seems done with you. Kick and Steak are now apparently tied to the Rollout. Your album campaign feels like one of the most artificial and manufactured operations we've ever seen from someone at your supposed level. And meanwhile, the lawsuit itself keeps collapsing in real time. The road toward Iceman has genuinely become one of the most embarrassing eras in mainstream rap history.
And eventually, if the music ever actually drops, Drake is going to have to face all of this directly. The paid campaigns won't protect him forever. The artificial hype eventually disappears. The propaganda fades away. And eventually, the only thing left standing will be the music itself. So go ahead and release it. Because if Drake is truly as confident as his camp pretends he is, then this shouldn't be a problem. But honestly, everybody already understands why the delays keep happening. The more I watch Drake's team operate during this rollout, the more familiar it all starts to feel. This is the exact same mentality they seemed to have back in 2024 during the Kendrick battle. Overconfidence, arrogance, acting like victory was guaranteed while showing very little proof the actual work had been done. And everybody remembers exactly how that situation ended.
So now the real question becomes, is history about to repeat itself? Because if Drake enters this rollout the way it currently looks, underprepared, overly confident, and unable to back up the image being sold, this could quickly turn into another 2024 situation. And honestly, judging by the way people around him keep talking, that feels exactly like where this is heading. Good luck. Because if this goes even slightly the way the Kendrick situation did, the next few years are going to be brutal for Drake and everybody attached to him. So let me know, what's more embarrassing here? Trying to drag Tupac's estate into your legal mess? Or allegedly paying people to manufacture fake hype around your album while still calling yourself the biggest rapper alive? Either way, Drake, time is running out. Eventually, the excuses stop working, and the music has to finally speak for itself. Check out the suggested video to see what happened right before all of this somehow became even worse.